Welcome back guys to another Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. It's me bro, and in this series we are going to begin with our inventory system. In the previous series we created this amazing build mode which you can check out in the previous videos, and once we will be done with our inventory system we are going to make sure that we actually need to pay resources in order to construct these buildables. So without further ado, let's begin the inventory system tutorial. What I'm gonna do first is I'm going to create a new folder in my content browser, and this is going to be my inventory system folder. I'm gonna give this a different color, like that would be good. Yep. And inside of here, similar to my build mode, I'm also going to create a blueprint structure, which is going to be an S inventory. And this is going to contain a couple of variables for every single one of our items. And the first one I'm gonna name name. And this is going to be a string. Then I'm going to add a description variable, also a string type. And the next one is going to be an item type, and I'm just going to call this type. I'm gonna add a value and an amount. Value is going to be a float and amount is going to be an integer. So basically we are going to have a name for every single one of our items. They will have a description. We will give it a type, whether it is an eatable, drinkable, equipable, or anything else. A value, basically damage for a sword, amount of health to restore from a health potion, and an amount, well, this is how many items of this type you have. So for now this is going to be it. Later on we are going to add more variables to this, but now we can close this. And I'm gonna open up my third-person character, and I'm going to add a new variable which I'm going to call inventory. Oh my god, I can't type today. So inventory, and the variable type is going to be our S inventory that we just created. And next to it I'm gonna click on this icon and change from a single variable to an array, since this is going to hold multiple values. So that's it. Now we can close our third-person character, and in this video we are only going to create the UI for it for now, and the functionality will come later on. So I'm gonna go to UI folder, and similar to my build mode I'm going to add a user interface widget blueprint, and first one is going to be UI inventory. This is going to be the one that we are going to open with. I'm gonna do this with keyboard I button, and I'm gonna add another widget blueprint, and this is going to be UI item info, and this is going to hold just a single button for every single one of our items in inventory. And this is going to be, of course, yeah, like I said, a button. So I'm gonna add a button, anchor this to the top. I'm gonna make offsets to 0 and the size to 66, like this. Now I'm going to change the appearance normal here under the tint. I'm gonna give this a light green, like this. Opacity of 0.8. You can do this in whatever color you want, depends on your preference. And I'm gonna right click normal, copy, paste this to hovered, and paste this to pressed, like that. Next thing, I'm gonna add a horizontal box on top of my button because I want to have multiple elements inside of this. And here I'm gonna add 2 text fields like this. Oh, also in the horizontal box, click it and make sure that this is set to fill. And then in our text, I'm gonna make this vertical in the middle, and first one is going to be set to the left side horizontally, and for the second one we're going to set this horizontal alignment middle, select this to fill, and vertical alignment center, like this. Yeah, I think it should be, although no, I think horizontal maybe back to the left side, but it's I don't like it, so I'm gonna add a spacer so we have a space between these. So I'm gonna put in a spacer in between, make the size of it again 20 pixels, same as I did in my build mode. So that's it for this. Now I'm gonna select my button and I'm gonna rename this item button. First text field, I'm gonna call this text amount, and the other one is going to be the text name. And I'm gonna select my texts and make sure that they are set to is variable, both of these. And button also needs to be a variable, but usually it is by the default. So now I can compile and save, and I can go to my graph, delete pre-constructor, delete event tick, and I need to add a variable, and this variable is going to be my item data, and the type is going to be an S inventory structure type, a single variable. So now I will drag in my item data. I will break the result, although one more thing that you can do, you could break this, or you can right click this and you can split pins, and it gives you all the variables, if you didn't know. But I'm gonna break this, and I'm gonna add a name, get name, and I'm gonna set text widget like this. And I'm also going to drag in the amount and also set text. There we go. Like this. Great. And name to name. Like this. And I also need the amount right here. So like this. There we go. And I'm gonna collapse this back so it's a bit smaller. And for now, that's it. And also for you need to select this item data, and you need to change the variable data settings to instance editable and expose on spawn. So now that's it. That's the only two things that we needed to add more. And now we can close this, I think. Yeah, I think that should be it. We can go to our UI inventory now. And I'm going to add a vertical box. I'm going to anchor this to the bottom right corner. I'm going to give this a size of 600 to 800, just like my build mode has. And position is going to be minus 650x minus 850y. So now it has a 50 pixels margin from the side. And the next thing I'm gonna add is a text field to the top. I'm gonna make this auto and horizontal alignment, vertical alignment, center, and I'm gonna call this, name this inventory, so that we have a text saying that this is the inventory. I'm gonna leave this to white for now. And I need to add a scroll box so that once this is full, we would be able to scroll this. Make sure that this is set to fill. And I'm gonna rename this to item list and set this to is variable. Now I can go back to my event graph, delete pre-constructor, delete event tick, and on event construct I am going to drag and create widget. And we are going to create our UI item info widget. And yeah, I'm gonna drag this back. Actually, I forgot one more thing. Very important thing that you need to do is you need to first cast to third person character, because we need to get our inventory first. And as object, I'm going to get owning player pawn. There we go. And I'm going to get inventory. Drag this back a little more. And from this inventory, I'm going to do a loop for each, so that this would give us all the items we have. And for loop body, now we can connect this to our widget, and RI element we need to connect to item data. And now we can drag in our items list, get this, and we need to add a child. So we're adding a child, and the content is going to be our return value from our widget. So there we go. Compile and save. Great. The next thing what we can do is, yeah, I think this is it for this. So we can close this. I'm gonna go back to my third person character. Oh, wrong folder. There we go. And I'm gonna create a similar thing to this keyboard B button. I'm going to do an keyboard I event like this. There we go. And I'm gonna create a new variable is inventory open. I'm gonna drag this into my user interface category. Now in my user interface, I'm going to duplicate this function like Ctrl W, and this is going to be create inventory UI. And in this create inventory UI, I'm going to change my widget type to UI inventory. If you haven't watched my building series, pause the video here to see what am I doing here, but I'm going to give it a little bit of explaining. So once we launch this function, we are going to create our UI inventory, and we are going to add this to viewport. Then dragging from this widget, we can get owning player, and I'm going to set the cursor to appear once this is done. And I'm also going to set input game mode and UI so that our mouse would focus on the UI rather than the game. And this variable I'm gonna delete, and I'm gonna change this to is inventory open so that our system would know that our inventory is open indeed. So now I'm gonna compile and save. Now the next thing, I'm gonna go to my clear HUD event, and here after the clear HUD we are removing all the widgets. We are spawning our HUD back, adding this to viewport, getting the owner player, setting mouse to invisible, so set show mouse cursor false. We are setting the input mode focus back to game only, and we are setting that our build menu is off, it's not turned on, and I'm gonna set this also for my inventory so that this would set to false once we launch this clear HUD event. So you can pause this and create the same function as I have, and I'm gonna compile and save, go back to my event graph, and here I'm going to, on pressed, I'm going to do a branch. I'm gonna check if my inventory is open. Ooh. If it's open, and if it is open, I'm going to drag in this clear HUD event so that we would clear it if it's already open, but if it's not open, then we are going to create it. So there we go. I'm gonna comment this to I keyboard key. Great. Compile and save. And if I press play, press I, we have our inventory. Press I again, it disappears. Press I, inventory. There we go. So in the next video, we are going to add our first items, create a pickable, and yeah, make sure that it goes inside of our inventory right here. So see you guys in the next video. Peace.